Have you ever noticed how those first few minutes after you wake up can set the tone for your whole day? That moment when you're sitting on the edge of your bed, maybe feeling a bit stiff, wondering if today will be a good one. I've talked with hundreds of folks over 70, and I've found that what you say to yourself in those early morning moments can make all the difference in the world. Today, I want to share 5 simple morning sayings that can brighten your days and maybe even change your life after 70. These aren't complicated mantras or strange new ideas, just practical, powerful words that remind us of what we already know deep down, but sometimes forget. I've seen these 5 simple phrases transform lives, and I believe they can transform yours too. Let me tell you about my friends Betty and Frank. They're both 75, live in the same retirement community, and have similar health issues. Betty wakes up thinking about all the things she can't do anymore, how her garden is too much work now, how her walks have gotten shorter, how many of her friends are gone. Frank, on the other hand, starts each day by reminding himself of what he still has to offer. Now, 8 years later, the difference between them is striking. Betty rarely leaves her apartment except for doctor's appointments, while Frank leads the community walking group 3 mornings a week. Betty turns down invitations saying, "I'm too old for that," while Frank just joined a book club and is learning to use a tablet to video chat with his grandchildren. Same age, similar circumstances, but completely different experiences, all starting with those first thoughts each morning. The first powerful thing to say to yourself each morning is simply, "I'm still growing." Now, I know what you're thinking. Growing at our age? But here's the amazing thing. Scientists have proven that our brains can make new connections well into our 90s. They call it neuroplasticity. But all it means is that we're never too old to learn, change, and develop. My friend Joe never touched a paintbrush until he was 77. His wife had passed away, and he was feeling lost. His daughter gave him a basic painting set just to try, and now, 3 years later, his paintings hang in the community center, and he's made a whole group of new friends through his art classes. "I never knew I had this in me," Joe told me last week. "I spent 40 years working in a factory, never thinking I had a creative bone in my body. Now I can't wait to get up and see what I might create today." Or take Mildred, who was terrified of computers her whole life. At 82, her grandson helped her get set up with a simple tablet. She started saying, "I'm still growing," every morning, and within 6 months, she was emailing old friends, looking up recipes, and video chatting with family across the country. "I feel like I've joined the modern world," she laughed, "and to think I almost missed it because I thought I was too old to learn." If you're someone who's discovered something new about yourself after 70, comment number 1 below. I'd love to hear your story. This idea of continued growth isn't just a nice thought. It's backed by science. Researchers followed people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who took up new activities like learning a language, playing an instrument, or even just doing different types of puzzles. Their brain scans showed actual physical changes, new connections forming, just like in much younger people. One doctor told me, "The worst thing seniors can do is decide they're done growing. The brain is like a muscle, use it or lose it. So tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and say, 'I'm still growing.' Then ask yourself, what small new thing might I learn today? What might I be curious about? Where might I stretch myself just a little?" I remember when Harold, at 81, decided to learn to swim. He'd been afraid of water his whole life after a scary incident as a child, but his great-grandchildren were taking swimming lessons, and he wanted to share that with them. "I'm still growing," he told himself each morning before his lessons. The first few weeks were tough. He'd shake with fear at the edge of the pool. But 6 months later, he was swimming laps and playing water games with those kids. The joy on his face was something I'll never forget. "I conquered a fear I've had for 8 decades, he told me. "If I can do that at my age, what else might be possible?" The second morning phrase that works wonders is, "My experience matters." In a world that seems obsessed with youth, we sometimes forget how valuable our years of living really are. Think about it. You've seen history unfold, you've weathered good times and bad, you've solved problems that would stump the youngsters. All those years have given you wisdom that can't be found in any textbook or quick internet search. My friend Eleanor was feeling invisible at 75 until she started mentoring young people at her church. "I used to hold back my stories," she told me, "but then I realized these kids were actually hungry for the wisdom I had to share." One young mother told me she learned more from our talks than from all the parenting books she'd read. Eleanor's experience is common. Studies show that groups with people of different ages solve problems better than groups where everyone is the same age. Your perspective is uniquely valuable. You've seen fads come and go. You've lived through changing times. You understand the long view in a way younger folks simply can't. I was talking with George, who worked as a mechanic for 45 years. He volunteers now at a community center, teaching basic car maintenance to teenagers. "These kids can look everything up on YouTube," he laughed, "but they don't know what to trust. I can show them what really works, because I've fixed just about everything that can go wrong with a car, many times over." Or consider Martha, who survived the Great Depression as a child. Her grandchildren thought saving aluminum foil or reusing containers was strange until food prices started rising sharply last year. Suddenly, her lifetime of thrifty habits became precious knowledge her family needed. "I never thought my old-fashioned ways would be useful again," she told me, "but now my granddaughter calls me every week for tips on stretching her grocery budget." Your experience is a gift, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. Don't hide it away. When you wake up tomorrow, try saying, "My experience matters." Then ask yourself, who might benefit from something I've learned? What hard-won wisdom do I have that could help someone else? Comment number 2. If you've found ways to share your experience with others, I'd love to hear how you're making a difference. The third morning saying is as simple as it is powerful. Today, I choose joy. Now, this doesn't mean ignoring real problems or putting on a fake smile when you're hurting. It just means deciding to notice the good things alongside the challenges. My neighbor Bob deals with arthritis pain every day, but he starts his morning by thinking of 3 small things he's looking forward to. Maybe watching the birds at his feeder, calling his granddaughter, or finishing that mystery novel. "Pain is part of my day," he told me, "but I refuse to let it be the whole day. There's still so much to enjoy if I look for it." Studies show that looking for moments of joy actually changes your body chemistry in ways that reduce pain and inflammation. It's like free medicine. Researchers found that seniors who practiced intentional joy-finding had fewer doctor visits, needed less pain medication, and even slept better than those who focused mainly on their problems. I'm not saying positive thinking cures everything. That's nonsense. But our minds and bodies are connected in powerful ways we're just beginning to understand. I saw this play out with twin sisters in our community, Doris and Dorothy, both dealing with heart conditions. Doris woke up dreading each day, focusing on her limitations. Dorothy started each morning by saying, "Today, I choose joy," and looking for small pleasures. 5 years later, Dorothy was still gardening, going to her grandkids' school events and hosting weekly card games, while Doris rarely left her house. Same genetics, same heart condition, but very different approaches to each day, and very different outcomes. The beauty of choosing joy is that it gets easier with practice. Ruth started by just noticing one beautiful thing each morning, a cardinal at her window, the pattern of sunshine on her floor, the sound of children playing outside. After a few weeks, she found herself naturally noticing pleasant things all day long. "It's like I tuned my antenna to a different channel," she explained. "The problems are still there, but they're not the only thing I see anymore." Comment number 3, if you already practice this or want to start tomorrow. What simple joys will you look for? I read every comment and love getting ideas from this wonderful community. 4th on our list is, my body is my friend. Many of us fall into the habit of criticizing our aging bodies, the wrinkles, the stiffness, the extra weight. Every morning seems to bring a new ache or limitation. But think about all your body has carried you through over these many decades. My friend Ruth spent years complaining about her appearance until one day she looked in the mirror and said, "Thank you," instead. She thanked her legs that had walked thousands of miles, her arms that had held children and grandchildren, her heart that kept beating through good times and hard times. "It changed everything," she told me. "Instead of being angry at my body for aging, I became grateful for its incredible loyalty. When we treat our bodies as faithful companions rather than enemies, amazing things happen. Take Mary and John. Both have arthritis in their hands. Mary wakes up angry at her painful fingers, while John thanks his hands for all they've done and gently encourages them through some morning stretches. 5 years later, John can still play the piano while Mary struggles with buttons. How we talk to our bodies matters. Dr. Wilson, who specializes in senior health, explained it this way. When we're constantly frustrated with our bodies, we create stress hormones that actually increase inflammation and pain. Plus, we tend to avoid movement because we expect it to hurt. It becomes a downward spiral. He encourages his patients to speak kindly to their bodies and focus on what they can still do, not just what they've lost. Helen tried this approach after a fall, left her fearful of walking. Each morning, she'd thank her body for healing and gently encourage her legs as she practiced walking short distances. "I talk to my legs like they're nervous children," she laughed. "I tell them you're getting stronger every day. We can do this together." Her physical therapist was amazed at how quickly she regained her confidence and mobility. This doesn't mean ignoring real health problems or skipping doctor appointments. It just means approaching your body with appreciation rather than frustration. William had a heart attack at 78 and was scared to exercise afterward. But instead of thinking of his heart as weak or broken, he started thanking it each morning for its amazing ability to heal and adapt. "I treat my heart like a loyal old dog," he told me. "It needs some extra care now, but it's still my faithful friend." With this attitude, he gradually rebuilt his strength and now walks 2 miles every day. Comment number 4, if you're ready to make friends with your body again. What part of your body deserves more appreciation for all it's done for you over the years? The 5th and final morning phrase is one I love. My story isn't finished yet. A big study found that people who believe they still have chapters to write actually live longer, about 7 years longer, than folks who think their best days are behind them. I've seen this play out with my own eyes. Helen and William both turned 75 the same year. Helen decided she was too old for new projects or goals, while William kept asking, "What might I try today?" 8 years later, William was teaching at the senior center, had written down his family stories for his grandkids, and had an active social life. Helen had become isolated and dependent, convinced her life was basically over. Your purpose doesn't end with retirement or when the kids grow up. It evolves into something new and often even more meaningful. Barbara told me at 90 that she feels more purposeful now than when she was working, because now she focuses only on what truly matters to her heart. "I don't waste time on things that don't bring meaning anymore," she said. "Every day feels important in a way my busy working years never did." I think about James, who worked as an accountant for 42 years. He liked his job fine, but never loved it. After retirement, he volunteered at a literacy program and discovered his real passion was helping adults learn to read. "I finally found what I was meant to do," he told me, "at age 76. If I had believed my story was over when I retired, I would have missed my most meaningful work." Or consider Patricia, who at 83 decided to record her family recipes and stories for future generations. "I almost didn't start because I thought, who would care about an old woman's memories?" she said. But her great-grandchildren now cherish that book more than any other inheritance. "I realized I wasn't just preserving the past," Patricia explained. "I was helping shape the future by connecting these children to their roots." Comment number 5. If you're feeling inspired to keep writing your story, I'd love to know what chapter you're working on right now. These 5 morning sayings work together like magic. They remind us that aging isn't just about loss, but about change and growth. Have you been telling yourself stories that hold you back without even realizing it? The good news is that we can change our thinking at any age. Our brains stay flexible our whole lives. So, which of these 5 sayings speaks to you the most? Drop the number in the comments. I read every single one. The most powerful thing I've learned from talking with vibrant, engaged seniors is this: the story you tell yourself becomes your reality. This is especially true after 70, when we have more freedom to shape our days exactly as we want them. I've met Rose, who started swimming at 82 because her doctor said it might help her arthritis. Now she's won medals in senior competitions. I've known Charlie, who began volunteering at an animal shelter at 79 after being afraid of dogs his whole life. Now he can't imagine life without his 4-legged friends. I've watched Edward publish his first poems at 88, saying, "I finally have something worth saying." Each of these wonderful people began by changing how they talk to themselves first thing in the morning. Let me share one more story that brings all 5 sayings together. Margaret lost her husband of 52 years and fell into a deep depression at 79. For months, she hardly got out of bed. Her daughter was worried and brought her a simple framed list of these 5 phrases. At first, Margaret ignored them, but eventually she began whispering them to herself each morning. "I'm still growing. My experience matters. Today, I choose joy. My body is my friend. My story isn't finished yet." Slowly, things began to change. Margaret joined a grief support group where she discovered her experience could help others. She started taking short walks, thanking her body for carrying her through her grief. She planted a small memory garden for her husband, finding joy in the flowers he had loved. She took a writing class and began putting their love story on paper for her grandchildren. 2 years later, Margaret was volunteering at the hospital where her husband had received care, helping families navigate the difficult emotions she understood so well. "Those 5 phrases saved my life," she told me recently. "They reminded me that even with this huge loss, I still had purpose and possibility ahead of me. I still had gifts to give." These morning sayings aren't fancy psychological tricks. They're simple ways to point your day in a better direction. Try them out. Start with just one that really speaks to you. Say it out loud while looking in the mirror tomorrow morning. Write it on a note card and put it where you'll see it first thing. Share it with a friend so you can encourage each other. We need each other on this journey. One thing I've noticed is that these phrases work best when they become part of a morning routine. Stanley, at 86, has a simple practice that works for him. He wakes up, sits on the edge of his bed, and takes 3 deep breaths. Then he says each phrase slowly, picturing how it might shape his day. "It only takes a minute or two," he told me, "but it changes everything about how I approach the next 24 hours. Virginia keeps her phrases on sticky notes around her bathroom mirror so she sees them while brushing her teeth. Charles has his written in a small notebook on his nightstand. Martha and her husband say them together over their morning coffee. Find what works for you. The important thing is consistency. You might wonder if saying a few words to yourself can really make a difference. I wondered that too, until I saw the research. And more importantly, until I saw the real-life transformations in people I know. Words have power. The thoughts we think shape the lives we lead. And at this stage of life, we've earned the right to choose thoughts that serve us well. Speaking of which, I'd love to know which saying you're going to try tomorrow. Comment the number below. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more practical wisdom on making the most of your golden years. I release new videos every Wednesday with simple, science-backed ideas for living your best life after 70. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss them. Remember, the most important conversation you'll have today is the first one, the one with yourself as the sun comes up. Which saying will you choose? Until next time, wishing you mornings filled with possibility and days filled with joy.